My name is Alfonso Siverls, and this is the Peripheral View. The 2020 election made us focus on the process in which this country elects a president. That process includes three major steps: the vote by the people, the casting of the Electoral College votes, and the verifying of the Electoral College votes by Congress. That process is not over until January 6th, when Congress meets to verify the Electoral College votes. This current administration has attempted to manipulate this process by doubting the votes cast by the people, and when that was unsuccessful, attempting to manipulate the electors of the Electoral College of each state, who are appointed by the governor, and are usually people who support the governor financially or politically or things of this nature, to change their vote. Because most states have laws to say that electorals of the Electoral College of a state must cast its votes based on the majority of the popular vote in that state. And now we're at the third step, where Congress is getting ready to verify the Electoral College results. We see some, like Mo Brooks, the representative congressman from Alabama, attempting to get other Congress folks not to verify the Electoral College votes and results. This is the system that we have in this country. It's important to understand how this system developed. Now, the Electoral College is in the Constitution and has one purpose: to elect the president and the vice president. How did it come about? In 1787, the question was, well, this new country, how are we going to elect a president? Some felt that we can't let Congress elect the president because that opens it up for corruption. Others felt we can't let the people directly elect the president because most of the public is ill-informed and can easily be manipulated by a charismatic leader. Then you had the issue of, well, how do we go about this? And they went to put together a compromise, a process in which the president will be elected that had the Congress with input, that had the states with input, both small states, large states. Most important, sort of dealt with the issue of slavery, because the issue of slavery was the overriding issue, the elephant in the room, in the design of the entire Constitution of the United States. So how did they go about it? They said that in each state, you take the population of the state, and that determines how many electors, how many representatives in the House of Representatives. And each state will have 2 senators. So a state like New York has 2 senators, the same amount as a state like Iowa. But we have much more representatives than Iowa. So we're giving the small states power, but the big states also have more representation. Now, the number of representatives in the House of Representatives and state and in Senate determines how many Electoral College votes a state will get. So for instance, Maryland has 10 Electoral College votes because they have 8 congresspersons, 2 senators. And this is based on the population. How many you have in Congress depends on the population. The Senate is fixed. Each state has 2. So, in 1887, when they were formulating this idea, the question was, what about the southern states, in which 40% of the population was slaves? 40% was slaves. How do you count them? Or do you count them? They had to come up with a compromise. And the compromise is the 3/5 clause of the Constitution that said slaves were counted as 3/5 of a person. So in Virginia, you had 200,000 slaves in 1787, 1/3 of the state population. When they counted those slaves in Virginia versus the other states, it gave Virginia 12 electoral college votes. Now at that time, in 1787, the total electoral college votes were 47. Today it's 538. So Virginia was a significant player. And they were significant because they counted those 200,000 slaves, 3/5 for each one. And you add all that up, gave them a lot of power. Consequently, for the first 36 years of the presidency of the United States, 32 of those years were occupied by a person from Virginia. And that's how we got the system we have today, in which people vote in a state, then the Electoral College casts its votes based on the results of the popular vote, and then the popular vote, the Electoral College results are verified by Congress on January 6th, and a president is selected. And the only thing left to do is for the president to take the oath. Now, is that system a system that we want to keep, or do we want to change? Or do we want to go to a system in which we have a pure democracy, the majority win? And the only way to change this is for a constitutional amendment. And a constitutional amendment means that 2/3 of the House and Congress votes to change it. And then 3/5 of each state, 3/5 of all the states must vote to change it. And that's very highly unlikely in the current split of Democrats and Republicans today. So we are sort of stuck with this system. And this administration has showed us that there are methods, there are steps in this system that can be manipulated. We never paid any attention to that before because the process just flowed. But now when we have candidates who are questioning or trying to change electors in the Electoral College, that's trying to influence Congress not to verify based on the result of the Electoral College votes, we see that the system is open to manipulation. And this president hopefully will not be successful, or so far has not been successful in manipulating the system. But it does not mean that in the future, another president will not be successful. So, folks, that's the Electoral College system, rooted in this country's history, rooted in the issue of slave states versus free states, rooted around the issue of slavery, that was so important in the election of the first 4 and 5 presidents of the United States. Thank you for watching.